Hey there, it's Philip here from Manning the Fort. Thus far on the channel, I've done a lot of Black Templars content. It's an easy place for me to start since they're my favorite Space Marine chapter, but I want to really start branching out. Today, I am not going to talk about my boys in black. Instead, I want to explore why my current favorite 40k novel actually features zero Space Marines. There might be a few. Let's take a look at The Infinite and the Divine by Robert Rath. I'm going to try to stay fairly light on the spoilers for this. This is intended to encourage you to read the book, not necessarily to retell it myself much more poorly than Robert Rath does. So, let's jump in. Before we get into the novel itself, let's take a quick tour of Necron lore over the decades. If you want to get straight into the Infinite and the Divine, there's a timestamp that will take you there, but I want to give at least a bit of an intro for newer folks. What would eventually become the Necrons started off as Chaos androids, but by the time I got into the game in late 2nd edition, they had already become their own thing. Still, for a long time, there wasn't much lore to be had. They were just this kind of distant cosmic undead horror. Black Library at the time was nothing like what it is today. To my mind, Necrons, other than being within shouting distance of copyright infringement of James Cameron, didn't have a ton going on. They were spooky, undead space robots with guns that disassembled people at a molecular level. I mean, that part's still true. With the 3rd edition came a much larger Necron model range, and along with it a significant expansion in the lore. We got introduced to the Satan, which were game changers both on the tabletop and in the lore. The Necrons got pretty heavily Egyptian-inspired feel pretty quickly, and the inklings of how old they were really started to become clear. In the intervening years, we've gotten more and more in dribs and drabs. We learned about the war in heaven, and the other war in heaven, and the story of the Necrons and biotransference took on a really tragic tone. A people doomed by the fault in their stars. Sorry. Anyway, they listened to some charming star gods and got a monkey's paw wish for immortality granted. Fast forward to the present, and I feel like some of the Egyptian feel is definitely still there, but the Necrons have very much become their own thing. The return of Zarek the Silent King is a real game changer, and his perspective on what the real problem facing the galaxy is could help shape things going forward. The Necrons as a people have largely reawoken after a 65 million year snooze, and they want their galaxy-spanning empire back. Even with Black Library's massive growth, there still wasn't much good stuff for the Necrons. You'd get bits here and there, but it was often in the context of a book that was really about another faction, namely Space Marines or other Imperials. That changed with the Infinite and the Divine. This book has almost everything I want from the 40k universe. There's drama and action, and quite a bit of actually funny humor. The book primarily focuses on 2 characters, Trazyn the Infinite and Orican the Diviner. They're the best frenemies you could find in the 41st millennium, but the book primarily takes place well before current day in universe. Over the course of thousands of years, Trazyn, the audiobook pronounces as Trazyn, but I prefer Trazyn, and Orican basically take turns trolling each other. Trazyn is essentially 40k's version of the Collector from Marvel, gathering and often just stealing objects and people from what he believes to be significant points in history. He's built a planet-sized museum out of all this stuff, including full life-size dioramas of battles made out of the actual people from those battles frozen in stasis. And they say 40k isn't Grimdark anymore. He has a level of obsessiveness about accuracy that would put a historical wargamer to shame. Orican, on the other hand, thinks that some of what Trazyn collects shouldn't just be locked away in a museum, but rather used, since it's potentially really powerful stuff. In particular, there's an orb Trazyn has that Orican thinks is something incredibly powerful. I won't go into detail, but it basically serves as the MacGuffin for a lot of their conflict. Rest assured, though, this MacGuffin is also Chekhov's gun. It will become important. For 10,000 years, the device gets stolen back, and the universe plays out around them. That brings me to something else I really enjoyed about the way this book is written. Books in the 40k universe often zero in on relatively short time periods. For well over a decade in the real world, it was within a couple years of the end of the 41st millennium in universe. I can't tell you how many lore bits began with M41999 dot something something. Hell, the Horus Heresy is 60 or so books at the time of recording and covers a period of 7 years. The Infinite and the Divine takes a very different approach, spanning millions, possibly billions of years, however briefly. The book opens with the rise of organic life on a then unnamed planet. Fast forward to that planet's equivalent of the age of dinosaurs, and we're given a point of view scene of one of said dinosaurs seeing strange moving stars in the sky. Those stars descend and drop off some two-legged, shiny creatures with glowing green eyes. So immediately we know that the Necrons first found this planet, presumably about 65 million years ago, as that's when their Great Sleep kicked off, and coincidentally about the time of the end of the dinosaurs here on Earth. Then, for millions of years, the Necrons snooze away, and the planet changes. The Eldar take it at some point, and Trazyn comes to steal their world spirit, and then later on, humans show up and take it over. At this point, it's an oceanic world. Then the Orcs arrive and wreck the joint, and by the time we get closer to the present, in universe, it's an imperial desert world. Because Necrons are functionally immortal, Trazyn sees a lot of these changes take place, either directly or after the fact. As a bonus, that arrival scene of the Necrons at the beginning ends up paying off later on, but that's all I'll say about that. While the little touches are fun, it's the narrative itself that is really great, in my opinion. In this book, Robert Rath takes the Necrons from soulless cosmic horrors to fully realized characters. This change has been happening over time in the codices and in other places, but the depiction still often reads to me as, "Ooh, scary metal skeleton kings with inscrutable goals." Now, to be fair, that is still pretty true of the Necrons in general, but the Infinite and the Divine really gives us good three-dimensional characters with Trazyn and Orokin. Now those scary metal skeleton kings and wizards are somehow relatable? At least as far as their goals and motivations. Through the often hilarious trolling of one another through the millennia, we do also get the incorporation of the newer, more fleshed out Necron lore with the Triarch, Caesaric, etc. It's not just comedy/political drama, though. There are legit action scenes that are every bit as visceral as the 40k audience has come to demand. We see Necron legions marching to war in pitched battles, and some pretty intense one-on-one combat, but even that somehow manages to be funny at times. I mean, Trazyn's favorite trick is to grab a Tesseract vault with a stasis-frozen army inside and chuck it at his opponents like a Grimdark Pokemon battle. There are also a number of references to the Necron tier, the people the Necrons were when they were flesh and blood. This is something else that has cropped up more in recent years, but Robert Rath does a great job explaining the significance of these changes. In one fight between Orokin and Trazyn, he describes how both characters were pretty feeble in the flesh, and neither was a skilled combatant back then, but the combination of giant metal skeleton bodies and downloaded combat techniques like their Neo in the Matrix made them pretty terrifying in a fight now. There's also some really poignant discussion of the lead-up to biotransference, when the Necron tier collectively shuffled off their mortal coils. I feel like I've made a decent case that this has all the action and intrigue I want from a 40k book, but the thing that perhaps sets this book apart the most is how genuinely funny it is. There's a webcomic out there describing various plot elements and how insane their juxtaposition is, but Robert Rath pulls it off really well. My enduring image of Trazyn and Orokin is of undead robotic versions of Statler and Waldorf from The Muppet Show. For the Zoomers who may not know, Statler and Waldorf are the two curmudgeonly old Muppets that sat in the balcony throughout the entire Muppet Show and basically just mocked everything, up to and including each other. I'd already established this image in my mind of them while reading the book, and then they actually go to a performance in a theater, which cracked me up. In fact, I found myself laughing out loud quite a few times during this book, which is a real rarity in 40k lore for me. Other books have made attempts at humor, and some succeed to varying degrees. I've genuinely laughed at things that happen to characters like Caiaphas Cain before. Most of the time, though, any humor often feels cringy, shoehorned in, or otherwise just not funny. If readers of this book don't catch themselves at least smiling a lot at the jokes in there, then they might need to have their humor centers adjusted. All the time that these jokes are happening, though, like I said, the book still feels like it belongs in the grim, dark future of the 41st millennium. And that's not an easy balance to pull off. So, for all the reasons stated, The Infinite and the Divine is currently my absolute favorite Black Library book. There are others that tell more harrowing stories or give us great detail of epic battles from 40k history, but this book absolutely hits the sweet spot for me, and I know I'm not alone. A lot of Necron fans love this book, but I think most 40k fans in general will as well. If it weren't such an outlier in tone, I'd say it's not a bad introduction to Black Library for new people as well, since it covers so much time in a single novel and shows us glimpses of a lot of the different factions in the 40k universe. So, The Infinite and the Divine gets 2 big Necrodermis-covered thumbs up from me. If you want to pick it up, I have an Amazon affiliate link in the description below, and if you buy it there, I'll get a little bit off that purchase. The channel is growing really quickly, so I want to thank you all for that. I'm eyeing some equipment upgrades and things to buy for hobby videos going forward, so every little bit helps. If you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate a like and a subscribe to keep the channel going. When I hit 500 subscribers, I'll be able to start doing things like community polls to see what you want me to make videos about. I mean, there's a new Necron novel out right now. Is that something you'd be interested in? If you want more 40k lore, here's a playlist of the other lore videos I've done, or you can click the other box and see what the mighty YouTube algorithm thinks you might like. Don't let Trazen steal your stuff, and thanks for watching.